our belief that the prosperity and stability of the region depends on countries treating all their citizens fairly, and that sectarianism is an enemy of peace and prosperity.
President Obama speaking to reporters shortly before departing Saudi Arabia earlier this week. Tensions between our nation and the Saudis have increased following a 60 Minutes report alleging that 28 classified pages of the 9/11 Commission report show a connection from Saudi Arabia to the 9/11 terrorists. The White House says the 28 pages were not brought up, nor was the possibility of 9/11 victims being allowed to sue Saudi Arabia. Instead, the trip was described as a, quote, clearing of the air between the two countries. But the question remains, should those 28 pages be declassified? For more, we're pleased to be joined by my former colleague on Capitol Hill and the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Pete Hoekstra. Pete, now a Shillman Senior Fellow for the Investigative Project on Terrorism and author of the book, Architects of Disaster, The Destruction of Libya. Pete joins us tonight from Holland, Michigan. Pete, I understand you've seen those classified materials and those 28 pages. Do you believe those pages should be declassified?
Well, JD, this is a debate that happened in Congress years ago, almost 13 years ago. And I remember, because this was a congressional report that came from a joint committee from the House and Senate intelligence committees investigating 9/11. We put the report together, you give it to the executive branch, they come back and tell you what's classified and what's not classified. Back then, there was already disagreement between Congress and the White House. Many of us on the committees, and part of that process, believe this information should have been made public at that time. The administration said no. I still believe, especially 13 years later, that this information needs to be made public. The families, the American people, we need to see what's in that information.
And quite obviously, you are not Hillary Clinton, so I don't think you're going to get slack from the Justice Department. You cannot detail what those pages include, but can you comment on the press accounts? For example, there's been talk not only of the Saudis, but also the posture of the Iranians leading up to 9/11. What can you tell us in general terms?
Well, in general terms, I can tell you that, there's been a tremendous amount of speculation what's in these 28 pages. And that's why I think it's actually doing more damage than good. Put it out there. Could it be talking about Saudi? Could it be talking about Iran? Absolutely. Because remember, the Congress versus the executive branch, we've got different equities. Why would a Bush administration want to keep this information secret? Why would an Obama administration, you think that their reasons would be very, very different, unless perhaps, and this is speculation from what I've seen in press accounts, what you've seen in press accounts, does it indict more than one country and highlight connections between more than one country and the 9/11 hijackers?
Let me turn to another topic, Pete, before you and I say goodbye. We've got about a minute left, and it is this. President Obama tonight in the United Kingdom, writing in the Daily Telegraph an opinion piece telling the UK to stay in the European Union. Does he have any business trying to tell one of our allies how it should behave politically?
Well, JD, you and I were in Congress. We were part of this political process. I can only imagine how you and I would have responded if we would have woken up in the wall and opened up the Wall Street Journal and read from Cameron or someone else from Europe telling us what our business should be and what we should be doing on the international scale. This president's butting his head into places where he shouldn't be.
And of course, for fairness' sake, we should point out that on more than one occasion, speaking to joint sessions of Congress, the president of Mexico, whomever that has been, has come in to tell us what we should do with our immigration policies. So we've seen it. We didn't like it during those days. I can only imagine the British reaction tonight. Peter Hoekstra, tonight from Holland, Michigan, you have our thanks. Up next, our political panel. So stay with us.